Okay, and now in this example here, we're going to practice writing in these equations in standard form. Okay, so in this case here, hold on, let me just double check what they want us to do here. Oh, they want us to graph. Okay, so they want us to graph each of these. Okay, so let's graph the first one. Okay, so what we want to do is figure out some points, right? So now on a graph, like a linear, when we're talking about graphing a linear equation, we only need 2 points to graph a straight line. Okay, now after you graph the straight line, if you want to get a third point, to verify your sketch, the third point should land on that graph, on the line, okay? But you only need 2 points to graph a straight line. So now in this case here, what I would do is you could plug in values. Like for example, you could plug in 0 and solve for y, right? So plug in 0 for x and solve for y. So if we do that, right? So if we get our x and y, and we'll put in a value of 0. Well, if we have 0 here, this becomes 0, and what happens to y? Y becomes 2, right, if you solve for it. And then also, if I put 1 in here, right, just put in easy values that you can easily solve for. So if x is 1, we get 2, and then if we subtract 2 from both sides, we get 4, and then what happens? We divide both sides by 3, and so when x is 1, y is 4/3, or 1 1/3. But let's do 2, okay? Let's see if we can get another whole number. So 2, we get 4. We don't want to do that one. Let's do 3. Yeah, let's do 3. If we do 3, 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract 6 from both sides, we get 0. 3 divided by 3 on both sides, we get y equals 0. So now we've got 0, 2, and 3, 0. So now what we can do is we can graph, right? So we've got 1, 2, and okay, so when x is 0, we get 2, and when x is 3, we get 0. And so now we've got our 2 lines, and so now I'm going to connect the 2 dots, and there we go. Okay? And let's just say, I'm just curious how good my drawing is, probably not that good. But so at 1, it's 1 1/3, which not quite accurate. Anyway, just curious. So now let's do the next one. Now here's the thing here. We got x is equal to 3. Now this one here, if we look at this, what is this telling us? There's no y variable. So what this is telling us is that x is always equal to -3 regardless of whatever y is, because y is not in here. So y doesn't matter. All this is telling us is x is always equal to -3 regardless of the value of y. So what does that mean? So it means that at -3, right? Okay? So at -3, that means no matter what value we have for y, x is always going to be -3. So when y is up here, it's always -3. So what does that mean? It means we have a vertical line that goes through -3. And so anytime we have something where x is equal to an integer, we have a vertical line. Now what about this one here? Well, let's solve, right? So again, what is this telling us here? Well, there's no x variable in here, right? So if there's no x variable, that means, hey, it doesn't matter what x is, y is going to be equal to something. So in this case here, if we just solve for y, that means y is always going to equal 2. So if we look at our graph here, that means doesn't matter what x is. X can be anything, but y will always be equal to 2, which means we have a horizontal line. Okay, so this gives us vertical, and this is horizontal. All right, and of course we could just plot some points too and we get the same thing. All right, have a great day.